2025 meeting of the Planning Board. Please rise to the Pledge of Allegiance. All right, thank you. The Town of Burlington will be holding the January 16, 2025 meeting as a hybrid meeting. The governor issued an executive order on March 12, 2020, authorizing remote meetings under General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 20, and extended by Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2023, including permitting remote meetings and participation until March 31st, 2025.
As always, members of the public are welcome to attend this in-person meeting. Please note that while an option for remote attendance is being provided as a courtesy to the public, the meeting will not be suspended if technological problems interrupt the virtual broadcast. Members of the public with a particular interest in a specific item should make plans for in-person versus virtual attendance accordingly. Those seeking to attend remotely can do so via the following. You can go to the URL townofburlington.webex.com. Our meeting number is 2334-215-4711. Our meeting password is 1645. You can join the WebEx on your phone at 617-315-0704. And we also, if you're choosing to use WebEx, we recommend everybody use the downloaded application and not use it via your web browser, because we've had some technical problems doing that, so we just want to advise the public of that. And those looking to participate remotely, please raise your hand in the WebEx and we will call on you accordingly. We're being broadcast on the BCAT government channel. You can find it on Comcast 99, RCN 15, Verizon 41, and streamed on Facebook Live via the BCAT government Facebook page.
Thank you, Liz. All right, is there anyone in the audience or online who'd like to speak on an item that is not on the agenda this evening? Give your speakers a maximum of 3 minutes to speak. Anybody here? Okay. Anybody online?
I do not see any hands online.
All right, no one? Let's go to announcements.
So the second Burlington Civic Expo took place last night, and it was a big success. We want to give a big thanks to Nikki Cadillac from the Burlington Buzz and our town clerk, Amy Warfield, for putting the event together. On Monday's select board meeting, town clerk Amy Warfield announced her upcoming retirement, and we just want to thank her for all of her work and service in Burlington, and we look forward to celebrating her more as we get closer to her retirement date in April. Martin Luther King Day is Monday, January 20th, and all town offices will be closed. The Fox Hill Building Committee will be meeting on Tuesday, January 21st at 6:30 p.m., and that will be in the school committee room at the high school and also available remote via WebEx. A town meeting information session will be next Wednesday, January 22nd, and that begins at 6 o'clock. That will be in the Town Hall Annex Basement Conference Room, and Liz will be presenting on middle housing and the ADUs. And then town meeting itself will be next month, will be Monday, January 27th, and that begins at 7 p.m. in the high school auditorium. And just as a notice that if town meeting goes multiple nights, night 2 will then be on Wednesday, the 29th at the same time and the same location. And the Sculpture Park Committee will be meeting Tuesday, February 4th at 8 a.m. via WebEx.
Okay, thank you. Staff, how big does the town meeting schedule look like? How many items on there?
There's 18.
18.
There's 18 articles. One is definitely going to be passed over because you haven't finished it yet. And so the related one to that may be
Okay,
passed over.
Yeah,
So-
and
But zoning goes
Great.
first.
zoning is first.
great, thank you.
Just
Mr. Covino.
Yeah, just two quick things. Number one, a big thank you to staff for the work they did to put together the stuff for the expo. The graphics are really good, great. I mean,
Very
people
nice.
stopped,
Yeah, they were very-
they were attracted by the graphics, and when I was standing there for a while and
Yep.
asking questions. So thank you very much.
Great.
And also condolences to Todd Fremont Smith on the passing of his mother. Todd's been in front of this board for the past 20, 25 years, many times, and always been a nice guy, let's put it that way.
Yep.
Thank you. A gentleman. That's-
Great. Any other announcements from board members?
I just might, if Mr. Chair, add one more to the list. Coming up on February 12th at 6:30 p.m., there is a community meeting for the Building High School project. I would encourage very much the community to get involved, attend, ask questions. I don't see on the website the location listed yet, but the website is bhsbuildingproject.com, and the schedule is up there. And the project is moving very quickly, so I would encourage people to get involved immediately.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so we have a matters of appointment. I'm going to talk slowly. So item 7A, it's a public hearing and application for approval of a site plan, 106 Bedford Street. The Burlington Historical Commission is the applicant. Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening. If you could introduce yourself. Thank you.
Hi, Peter Capola, member of the Burlington Historical Commission.
Okay. And Peter, what does the Historical Commission plan to do here?
Okay, this actually dates back to 2016. What we're trying to do is build a storage shed for a large number of historical assets that we have currently in storage in ISO containers up at the Overlook, in the basement of the museum, in sheds around town, basements around town. We have a large number of historical assets that we don't have place to store. And again, going back to 2016, we were storing that all in the old Clark and Reed site, but when the town did the demolition work and built a new DPW, they pulled everything out of there and put it into the ISO containers and told us to get rid of it. They offered to build us a shed, and that never happened. So we took it upon ourselves to go to town meeting and request permission. Again, this goes back to now 2019. And we received funding to build a shed, but then we hit another pothole when the building inspector realized that the site, which was zoned residential and would have been a by right use, actually changed because the West School now became the West School Museum. And as a museum, it was no longer zoned residential, it was a non-conforming use, or still residential, but it's with a non-conforming use, so any addition to the site would be an extension of a non-conforming use requiring a special permit.
Okay.
And it took us 2 years to get to this point.
Okay. So just my understanding here from staff, this says approval of site plan, not a special permit.
Yes.
Okay.
So there's no special permit required, actually?
I would have to, I am aware of, is that what the building inspector, I would have to double check with Mark Dupel, but I'm pretty sure it's just it's,
Extension of an existing non-conforming use.
That's suspicious.
That's a special permit, isn't it?
Do they consider it accessory to that or something, or is it, maybe they're not considering
So-
an expansion of the use?
Okay.
so, I don't know, I was under the assumption, no, it is an extension of a non-conforming use.
That would be a special permit.
It would be a special permit, and a site plan was filed.
So, Mr.
But it was,
Chair?
so what happened is, it was noticed, but I think just the wrong,
What does the advertisement say?
it says site plan.
Okay.
So, Mr. Chair, may I suggest that we take testimony and ask all our questions, and then have Mr. Capola return 2 weeks from now for a special permit, but we would have already hopefully fleshed all this out?
It's not going to be enough time for your advertising.
Okay.
So you'd have to be in a month.
Okay, thank you.
You're not
Should
going to
we-
dig in the
Do you want
winter
to do it then, or?
No, no.
Well, I'll leave that up to the board if they'd like to address it today, and maybe, counsel, if that's the right thing to do, or,
Yeah, and the reason I asked to see what was in the advertisement is that some communities advertise everything, special permit, site plan, variance, as appropriate, and then if
Right.
something like this happens, it doesn't matter.
right?
But many communities don't, they just say exactly what it is. So having done that, it has to be advertised for a special permit, because that's the right
And if we're talking about special permit, it probably should be advertised
Yeah.
properly. So why don't we not discuss it and wait till it's advertised correctly?
Correct.
So we
Okay.
Continue?
But you wouldn't continue it, it would be probably withdrawal without prejudice?
Well, I would continue it just in case they also need a site
site
plan.
Oh, okay, yep, okay, good, very good.
So, Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to continue this matter to the meeting of February,
Find out.
I'm not connected to the internet.
hold on,
Hold on, I can tell you. February 20th.
thank you.
Oh, no,
We
wait,
don't have a meeting.
February 6th.
That's not enough time.
That's not enough time? That's 3 weeks. 3 weeks is not enough
Oh,
time?
3 weeks is, 3
Yeah.
weeks, you should be able to get in 3 weeks.
February 6th, this is the first Thursday, and it's 3 weeks from today.
Yep.
Yeah, you should be able to get in
Okay.
then.
Okay, Peter?
Jess?
It's been 9 years, so it's another month.
3 weeks.
Second to.
Motion made and seconded to continue to February 6th. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, 600. Thank you. Thank you, Peter.
Thank you. I'm just going to pass these out for everybody.
We'll have that on hand for next time.
Thank you.
Just a little bit of Burlington history.
Yep,
Oh,
thank
okay.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I need to double check what happened there.
Okay, no worries at all.
Okay.
Okay, we'll move on a little bit here.
I still, oh, I don't connect to the internet now.
Everybody ready for item B? Sure. All right, just wait for staff to make sure you guys are ready.
Yeah, I think
Okay, let
Caleb
me,
can bring it up. I was having a hard time connecting.
okay, good.
But if Caleb wants to share it.
All right, 7B is a public hearing amended to Article 2 definitions, Article 4 use regulations, Article 11 special residential regulations of the zoning bylaw to bring the zoning bylaws into alignment with state laws regarding accessory dwelling units known as ADUs. That's submitted by the planning board.
So I'm going to go through this presentation for people at home who are just tuning in. And then it's also going to kind of act as a precursor to my town meeting presentation. But we will have, I'm glad that Lisa was able to join us, town council, to discuss, because this is a quirky one. And the timing of it is strange. So warrant Article 9 in the warrant is the ADU bylaw. It's a protected use now. So what are we trying to do? Today, in our bylaw, homeowners can only legally build ADUs if their home is 1,800 square feet and was built prior to 1989. So it is essentially it's not really a useful bylaw, it's really restrictive, it's hardly ever used. So in August, the Affordable Homes Act was signed into law by Governor Healy. And it allows ADUs on all single-family zone properties as of right throughout the state. And it's a tool to alleviate the state's housing shortage, or that's how they're seeing it. It goes into effect on February 7th. And so what this article does is it brings our zoning bylaw into compliance with state law and provides additional local regulations.
Okay?
So what is an ADU? This is the official definition that the state put out. So it's a self-contained housing unit inclusive of sleeping, cooking, and sanitary facilities on the same lot as a principal dwelling. So it can be a basement conversion, a converted garage, a detached ADU, an attached ADU. They can come in all different forms. And the state definition says that it must maintain a separate entrance. It cannot be larger than half the gross floor area of the principal dwelling or 900 square feet, whichever is smaller. It's subject to additional regulations that can be imposed by the municipality. And it also, this is kind of the caveat that we're going to talk about in a minute, it has to adhere to the Code of Massachusetts Regulations of CMR from the EOHLC, the Executive Office of Housing and Livable Communities. Okay, so why is there an amendment to this article? So as you recall, on December 5th, you voted to approve the final version of the warrant article, and that is the version that was printed in the warrant. On December 6th, the next day, unbeknownst to me,
Or anyone.
the state disseminated additional rules and regulations for this law. Now, does that mean that what was in the warrant no longer adheres to these rules and regulations? Yes, of course. Of course. So what we're hoping to do today should you guys decide, is to vote on the amended article, and then at town meeting, the town meeting will have in front of it the motion for the amended article. I have sent a copy of the article out to town meeting already. We're going to have extra copies on the back table, you know, handing them out, all that stuff, to make sure everybody's on the same page, because the last thing you want is town meeting members to be confused. It's hard enough with all the amendments going forward. And so, Lisa, do you have anything to add about the timing of this and how?
No, I would just add that, just so you know, the regulations are still not final. So you may not have seen the last of this. But I think that, and as you go through this, there are some things that Liz and I will point out to you that are maybe questionable under the regulations, and so you can make your determination about whether or not you want to just try it anyway, or not, as the case may be. And one of the things that Liz ended up pulling out of this were some of the special permits, because you can allow ADUs, more than one ADU by special permit, but you don't have to. And so instead of creating in the short time period that we had between when we found out this change and the advertisement, instead of creating all those new special permit criteria, we just took it out. And if you want to allow that later, we can do another amendment later.
Okay.
Thank you, Lisa.
Before we get into it, can I ask a quick question? So your comment on how there might be additional regulations coming down, once we kind of, you know, get past town meeting, what's then the process for re-updating it? Is it town meeting every single time?
Every single time.
So from what I have seen online, most recently, February 2nd is when the EOHLC is stating that they're going to have the final rules and regs out. That's what I saw on their website.
Right.
And so that's great. On February 7th is when building inspectors are supposed to be issuing building permits for these.
Yeah.
So I have a question. If this passes town meeting, suppose that all goes smoothly, and then on February 2nd, new regulations come out, and we find out that our bylaw does not conform with those regulations, what happens between February and May when we can amend?
So it's going to be really interesting, because I have a town that had an early fall town meeting that adopted an ADU bylaw, which I will tell you does not comply with these regulations. And we actually haven't even gotten the Attorney General's comments back yet on that. So I think that they're trying to figure out how they're going to deal with that. That town's going to have to amend that bylaw for town meeting. What will happen is, it will be very clear that on February 7th, your bylaw would apply to the extent it complies with the regulations. And if it doesn't, the building inspector is just going to have to ignore it and issue the permit according to the regulations for the by right ADUs.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. I don't think I've ever seen anything move so fast in such a kind of a chaotic type of
Yeah,
approach,
chaotic is a good word.
you know?
Yeah.
With all good intentions, right?
All good intentions, and, you know, I will tell you, the Attorney General's office is working really closely with municipalities to try to answer some of these questions, because EOHLC, of course, is the one developing the regs, but the Attorney General's the one that really reviews zoning, right? And so we are peppering them with questions constantly, but how about this, and how does that compare with what the general rule is and case law is under the statute as it exists? So they're being really responsive, but I think these are in pretty good shape, but I know that there are a couple of big questions that are not yet answered, at least as far as we know.
Yeah, okay. Okay, Beth.
So continuing on. So what's in the new rules and regulations? Lot size, lot coverage, open space, and the height of ADUs cannot be more restrictive than that of single-family dwellings. So we can't put additional, you know, dimensional requirements on ADUs. We can cap the number, as we just discussed. And the other thing, we had a discussion at our previous meeting about mobile homes and manufactured homes, and we did get some clarification on that. So we aren't required to allow mobile and manufactured homes as ADUs, but we are required to allow modular dwelling units or prefab homes where, you know, parts of the home are done in a factory. There's a slab or a basement foundation, and then a crane comes and puts the pieces all together.
Sort of like a prefab, right?
Right.
Well, you said you're not, what's the difference between a prefab and a modular?
They're the same, but so prefab and modular are kind of the same, and mobile
That's what I thought, but you said we're not required to allow mobile or prefab.
Manufactured.
Mobile or manufactured.
mobile or manufactured homes, we are not required to allow.
So what's a manufactured?
I know, how is manufactured different than
You know,
manufactured off-site somewhere, right? I mean, that's how it is, right? I mean,
So I think that when the state says that, they're talking about something like a tiny house, which is entirely manufactured someplace else and brought in, as opposed to a modular dwelling unit, which are in pieces and parts. You don't have, a modular home does not come entirely together, and it gets attached to a foundation or a slab. So that's the difference. Manufactured homes are entirely constructed. Modular homes are not.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense, but
yeah,
what's the difference?
So I think that the difference is it's a building code issue. No, it's a building code issue because manufactured homes, there's nobody there to inspect the pieces and parts that are put together in Massachusetts.
Okay.
And that's the
So
difference.
you're saying with the walls already closed in and
Correct.
everything, and the other ones come in and they put the walls in after they're.
Correct.
Oh, got it, okay, yeah.
Yeah, this says manufactured homes are built to meet HUD code, HUD code, versus modular homes have to follow all the applicable state and local building codes.
Beautiful, perfect, very good.
Okay.
So we probably are going to have to explain that to town meeting.
Right.
Yes.
If we could
Should
put the
have that
definition
ready.
up there, yeah.
Yeah, put a definition.
Yeah, that's great, thank you. Okay,
So what can we regulate? So these are the development standards that are currently in the new amended bylaw. So only one ADU per lot. Attached ADUs, the entrance must be on the side or the rear of the principal dwelling. If two entrances exist on the front of a principal dwelling, the ADU must appear subordinate. Stairways to an ADU on the second floor must be enclosed within exterior walls. Continued, they need to have one designated off-street parking space. They need to be connected to the municipal water and sewer systems. They can't be on the frontage of, they need to meet setbacks, so they can't be on the frontage of the principal dwelling unit. And they should be, any detached ADU needs to be accessible from a path or walkway.
Can we just add one caveat in here? So with regard to the designated off-street parking space, that's only if you're not within half a mile of a train station or a bus station, which has been defined as any bus that has a route, even if it has a flag stop, is considered a bus station.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if you are within a half a mile of that, you do not need to provide an extra parking space.
okay.
So in this case, within a half a mile of Cambridge Street or?
Yeah, so Arlington Road,
I have a-
Sunset.
So our bylaw has a parking
I
ban.
have a,
No, I know it's in
Yeah.
there, but what do we do when there's a,
She said,
well, winter parking?
off-street parking.
no, they have to, when you have a parking ban,
Yeah,
So winter parking.
yeah, you just have to find accommodations. That's what you do.
They have to park the car off
Yeah, I mean, like,
property.
coming from
I mean,
a
on the
community
property.
where that happens regularly, you pull into somebody else's driveway, you go to a public lot, you,
Isn't there no, so I thought there was a general bylaw that in the winter you can't
Right.
park off.
On the street.
There is.
right, so you have to find someplace else to park.
Yeah.
right.
So maybe it's not a designated space just for them, but the main dwelling has to let them pull into the driveway.
Right,
Right.
right.
I have another quick question. For the walkway, the path or walkway, does it have to be
ADA?
ADA
acceptance.
compact?
No, not on private property.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, good question.
That's kind of it, high
Wow.
level. Tried to keep it high level for town meeting. Get a little deeper for you guys.
Pretty simple.
Yeah, it's fairly straightforward. I've provided you guys with a clean copy of the fully amended ADU.
Is that the same thing you sent us?
This is the same thing I sent you.
Right.
And then the red line
That's
is
right.
what I had to change to make it compliant with the rules and regs.
Yeah, this cleans up a lot of the questions we had over the couple of meetings with regard
Oh,
to
yeah,
height,
totally.
manufactured homes versus mobile homes versus trailers, so I think it's actually, I hate to say it, but simpler and helpful.
I agree.
Right, and, we put the guidelines and guardrails that we can put on it with the existing law and regulations. Okay. Thank you, staff. We'll start. Go ahead, Madam Vice Chair.
One of the questions we had last night was the square footage, the 900 square footage. Is that footprint or, like, let's say you build 2-story?
Yep.
Is it 900 of both stories or just the
Total.
No, it's total, and its gross square foot is defined in the statute. So there's, a lot of communities define gross square floor area, habitable space, all differently. So you have to refer to the gross floor
Okay.
area as
Gross floor
defined in
area.
the statute.
Okay, great.
So that's our current, it's our bylaw that defines that, not the statute?
No, it's the statute
So the
that defines
statute.
it.
So
Correct.
does the statute include, well, no, I'm thinking non-living area, like
Right.
basement.
I'm gonna read it to you,
Okay.
The sum of the areas of all floors of the building, including basements, cellars, mezzanine, and intermediate floored tiers and penthouses, of headroom height measured from the exterior faces of the exterior walls or from the center line of walls separating buildings, but excluding covered walkways or opened roof over areas, porches and similar spaces, and pipe trenches, exterior terraces, or steps, chimneys, roof overhangs, and similar features.
Okay.
Do they define what head height is?
That's that's a building code thing, so I think it's like 7 feet, 6.5 feet, 7 feet, something like that.
So you can have a basement as long as it goes below that,
Yeah, then that wouldn't count,
yeah.
because it's not considered a habitable space.
Right. Okay. Good. Mr. Impemba, any further questions?
No?
Okay. Ms. Natola?
No, I'm okay, just with
Okay.
what everybody's
Great.
asked.
Okay, Mr. Covino?
Just a couple of comments. In reading it over and talking with Liz, it sounds like this is more what we were looking for, with the exception of the fact that somebody, and I think it'll be the unique case, could come up with a 30-foot highway. But the fact that we
Have to be
can
900
now eliminate all but one, they can only be, we can say there can only be one, and I think we were looking for a way to do that. And that, so this is good, as far as I can see. The only other bad thing might, if you want to call it a bad thing, it can be in the side yard, as long as as long as it's further in than the 15 feet. I don't see that, It's going to be very interesting to see how this works out, let me put it that way. But
Yep.
thank you.
Yeah, Ms. LaRue?
I have no further questions.
And I don't either. Thank you, staff. Okay, so we do need to take a vote, I believe.
Excuse me,
Oh, go
can I
ahead.
I just want to point, I feel I need to point out a couple of things. So
Okay.
on the, if you go to on 11.2.2.2, the applicability requirements, E. So this assumes that you have to have one parking space. So I think that we should put in here, except unless within a half a mile of a,
Oh, okay, yep.
right?
that's what the
So just,
law says.
if you could pass it with that amendment, well, then we'll just put that exception in that's under the statute. And I would also point out that this may get flagged by the Attorney General, because you're trying to design where the driveway and parking spaces where you don't do that for single-family homes. Okay? So I think it's okay, because I think it's a reasonable design criteria, but I just want to point it out, so you're not surprised if the Attorney General comes back with comments. But I think it's fine, I think it's a reasonable design criteria, I want to point that out.
They wouldn't throw the whole
I
thing
have
out.
one other question. What about a school bus stop? Is that
No,
fine?
no, commuter,
Just a commuter
Yeah,
bus?
yeah.
Okay.
And it's not prohibiting it, it's allowing us to say that they can't have one.
No.
No, it's saying, it's about the parking space.
Yeah, that's what I'm
Right.
saying.
That, yeah, if they're within a half a mile.
Right.
They don't have to have a.
They don't have to,
Correct.
but they're not prohibited from, in other words.
Oh, no,
if we-
right. Oh,
if we
they-
decide that, oh, that's a
yeah.
good design, and we
Oh,
don't
yeah,
mind that the
absolutely.
way it is,
They
then we're
can-
fine with
yeah.
it. Yeah, sure.
Oh, okay.
And then the only other thing I want to point out is the siting standards. So you're supposed to apply the same dimensional requirements that you do to single-family homes. So if you have a front yard setback of 25 feet, you're allowed to build at 25 feet, right? But if the house is at 50 feet, you can put the house at 50 feet too, so long as you meet your, all your, whatever.
Yep.
The way you have your design standards, and I totally think that I agree with why you do it, I'm just going to point it out, is that you say that the ADU may not be in front of the house. So if the house is beyond the 25 feet,
Yeah.
then there's room up there to put an ADU, so long as it doesn't meet the 25-foot requirement. So I want to flag that as well. I understand why it's in here. I think it's reasonable, but you should know about it.
Okay.
Okay.
So it's a risk that we
Good.
have to.
I'm okay
You
with
guys have to
that.
decide whether you
Yep, I'm okay with that,
I'm okay with the rest.
to go with the risk.
Now, the
I'm not
Attorney
putting it-
General
So
then-
to not allow it in the
Yeah.
front regardless of how
Set.
far back the
Yeah.
house is set.
There may be some pushback there, but,
Does the Attorney General throw the whole thing out, or just?
No, they won't throw the whole thing out unless it's like completely abhorrent. What they would say is, they would say, talk to your town council, we recommend it be changed.
Okay.
They might strike that provision if it was really awful. Otherwise, they would say, talk to your town council, because then what happens is they'll let you be challenged.
yeah.
So if the building inspector won't issue one because you want to put a building there.
Then they can
that-
challenge and sue.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
They would give a right, take it to the ZBA and then go from
Yep,
there.
yep.
right.
But,
So-
so would the rest of it take effect? In other words?
Yeah.
Yep.
So,
Go, Mr. Natola first.
go ahead.
I
sorry.
just wanted to see, so if the yard had a huge frontage, and they were to put, let's say, a side but nicely done, if we vote on this, it means that they can never put it in the front?
Correct.
Okay.
So I kind of have an issue with that, because somebody could do it as an attached unit, like basically looking like an addition, or looking like it's part of the house, but only it happens to be in front, because they don't have the backside, setback requirements to be able to do it.
But it's detached. We're putting that restriction only on detached ADUs.
Only on detached, okay. It's only on detached.
So that's not what the visuals say?
The visuals say
Well-
attached.
Yeah, I
It
didn't
says
think it was.
detached in the citing standards. It says a detached,
Okay.
protected use ADU
Okay,
shall not be
good, so
located
then I
between a
need to get
roadway and the
rid
design.
of
You
these
should
images.
take out those two images that have attached
I
ones.
think that's
They
good.
could go to the Board
Yep.
of Appeals for any of these, right?
Dimensional.
So if somebody decided, because we voted no, they could still appeal it, and, because let's say it has a huge lot, and it's nicely done, I just feel bad for the person, there could be the one case that they have a spectacular lot, and they put it sideways, and it looks
Okay.
nice.
So let me say, so first of all, I don't know what the AG is going to do. Secondly, what you could do, you could pass this, and when you look at the special permit ones where, like you want, let's say you want to allow 2 by special permit, you could add another special permit, and you could say, you can have them in the front yard with special permit. That way, assuming they're going to approve this, that way, you all would have a chance to look at, right?
Yeah,
So-
that's a great.
So you might want to,
Yeah.
you might want to do that, just.
But most people, I would agree, you probably don't want it there. I'm
That's
thinking
right.
of the person with a
Right.
huge lot,
So
like
for that
an
exception,
unusual
then you would
case.
want a special permit. So
Sure.
maybe you just pass this the way it is, with those 2 changes we
Yep.
talked about.
But right now, the way it's phrased, there's only one unit allowed, correct?
One,
That's
right
right.
now,
So
right.
there is no second unit.
No, that's what I'm saying. If we
If
come
in the
back.
future we were to
And you
add
wanted
one,
to
okay.
allow it by special
Okay.
permit, I would add that in. Assume, wait and see what the AG does
Yeah.
with this,
Okay.
right? And then you could allow it.
I think we're in good shape.
Yeah, I don't know how the rest of the board feels. I personally would prefer to limit it to one.
Yes.
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 Oh, I would limit it to
Yep,
one.
if that seems unanimous.
Since you're here, Lisa, so what things, or not exactly, but roughly, could be varied by going to the Board of Appeals? Where the unit is sited, or only dimensional?
Well, they would, yeah, it would be a dimensional, they could go, you're allowed to get a variance for your dimensional requirements, right? So you could go to the Board of Appeals to get a variance. So let's say your house, to your point, let's say your house was way far back.
That's what I'm saying.
And you
Some
had
houses are
ledge,
set
or
back.
you had ledge, you had wetlands, and then you could go get a variance from the Board of Appeals.
Let me ask
But
one
it's
other.
not really a dimension.
Well,
If it says you can't put it in front, that's not a
Well, that's a
dimension.
front, well, that'll
Well,
be
this-
the argument.
Yeah.
Well, so I guess maybe the way, would we be allowed to have a different setback for this?
No, you may not have a different,
So you can't
only if
create
it
a
were
s-
more generous.
You can't create, well, it would be more generous.
If it was more generous, you could.
So that's what I'm saying. Oh, more so closer to the front
Yeah.
Correct.
versus further away from the front. So, because my point is, you could say, okay, maybe somebody's got a 300-foot lot, and and they're behind trees and everything else, and what would be the difference, right? But you could say, all right, as long as it's 75 feet from the street,
A good example of that, Joe, would be, remember that lot up on Margaret Road when they wanted
Yes.
to put the
Yes.
solar panels in the front yard? The
Yeah.
front yard was 250 feet deep.
Yes.
But the building inspector still
They consider the
obviously
front
couldn't
yard.
allow it because it was the front yard. So maybe in a case like that.
and there's a lot of houses down on, like, Wilmington Road that are set
Yes, that are
back,
way back in
way,
the
way
woods.
back into the
Yeah.
woods. Trees and everything, you can't see them, and they're probably 300, 400 feet back. Like,
Well, I would see what the AG says about
Yeah.
this, and then come back, and if you want to have an exception for, a design exception, right, for houses that more than double or triple the front yard setback or whatever, then you can work on that. But I think for now, because you're going to want to create criteria around that, you should
Yeah.
probably just focus
Yeah.
on this.
Thank you.
Okay, great.
And of course, I'm thinking that would be more the exception about the
Right,
front, you know what I
right,
mean? More
right.
of the exception.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Okay, I think if everyone's comfortable with it,
Public hearing.
right? Yeah, oh, yeah, right,
Mr. Chair, I'd
public
like to
hearing.
make a motion to close the public hearing on, oh, wait.
Well, no.
Oh,
We'll
we
have to ask.
Oh, sorry.
Let's ask if there's anybody in the audience or online that would like to discuss this item.
Reminder for those online, use the raise hand function.
There's
There we
one
go.
there, okay.
Sherry is first. I'm going to request an
Okay.
unmute to Sherry.
Ms. Ellis, please.
Great, thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you, I appreciate it. Just a question I had regarding, I guess there's two questions. One is regarding the Burlington zoning bylaws definition of one-family dwelling versus the state's or Massachusetts regulations about single-family. So I'm not sure how, and within this zoning bylaw that you're proposing, there's interuse of both terms. And so I don't know how, is that going to be affected in anything where you mentioned single-family zoning and single-family residence where we only have one family? I don't know how that language will work.
Well, certainly one family and single family are the same things. So you're talking about an internal
Correct.
consistency,
Well,
Sherry? 'Cause-
Yeah, consistency and the fact that we don't have a single-family zoning district, we have one family. Yes, they are the
Okay, just
same,
language,
but
yeah.
language-wise,
Yep, language-wise, single
you know,
family, one family.
should we ultimately change our zoning bylaws to say single-family zoning and single-family dwellings? Not certainly with this bylaw amendment, but ultimately, is that something that we should do to be more in line with the state?
Well, frankly, every municipality, they're different, they're all different, single or one. The definitions from the state, which are used in here, as you point out, do say single-family residential zoning district. So I view that as a descriptor, right, as opposed to a defined term. So if that's the descriptor, a single-family residential zoning district, which is a district, any district that allows a single-family or one-family home by right.
Right.
So I don't have as much agita over it, and I think it's a discussion that the board might want to have in the future about whether or not they want to change the entire bylaw because the state came up with the ADU definitions.
Okay, thanks. I think that was more my question, is going forward, to be more in line with what the
Yes.
state's doing.
Yeah.
Should we
Have
consider that?
Conversation
Yep.
later, yeah.
Thank you,
Okay.
Ms.
I
Ellis.
did have one other question after listening. Thank you, Lisa. You cleared up a lot of things with the protected use and all of that. And I think Liz did that as well. Initially, in the discussions for this, the board had talked about only allowing the water, sewer, and utilities to be taken for the ADU off of the main home. Is that still the case? And is that something that, or is that something that would be prohibited by the state? Or has that been taken out? I'm not sure
So-
where that stands.
The bylaw just says that the ADU needs to be connected to the municipal water and sewer. It does not state in this bylaw how the water department or the sewer department is going to handle metering or any of that stuff. So that's more of an internal policy question or building
No,
code
it's,
question.
it's, the regulations won't let you, right? So the regulations say that any requirement concerning utility, safety, and emergency access that is more restrictive than state requirements. So you can't do it.
You can't
Okay.
do what?
So
You can't regulate it more than what you're doing.
So therefore, if somebody wanted to put in an ADU and did not want to connect it to the sewer system, then they would have to put in a septic system.
No,
No.
That's,
you can't.
you can't require them to connect through the single-family home.
Okay, that's,
Okay.
okay,
Right,
Correct.
right,
That's the
require
answer I
one
wanted to
meter.
hear.
got it.
right.
Okay.
We can require them to connect.
Yes.
Yeah, you absolutely
Yeah.
require them to connect. Require them to
They can have a separate connection so that if both of these units were rented out, they would have individual metering. So
Correct.
that was my question. Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Yep.
Thank you, Ms. Ellis. Any more hands up there?
I do not see any right now, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Seeing none, may I have a motion to close the public hearing?
Mr. Chair, I would like to make a motion to close the public meeting on this matter.
Second?
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? 600. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to recommend favorably on the petition to amend Article 2 definitions, Article 4 use regulations, and Article 11 special residential regulations of the zoning bylaws to bring the zoning bylaws into alignment with state laws regarding accessory dwelling units, ADUs, as amended.
Right, there are two amendments.
Two amendments submitted by the planning board.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? 600. Thank you again. Okay. So thank you. Okay. Next, matters of appointment. Yep.
Before, if town council is, are you leaving?
Not if you don't
Question I
need
wanted
me,
to
I'm,
ask.
stay right here.
Well, it's not on our agenda. I just wanted to know, and I don't know who to ask, what's happening with hybrid meetings after March 31st?
Good
Oh,
question.
good question.
question.
Actually, just had this
Ah.
conversation with the AG today, and they don't know the answer to that.
Okay. That's a great answer.
Fun.
It's coming up, so,
I hope they make up their mind soon.
Okay, thank you. Now, matters of
you.
appointment, none. Minutes, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes. Has everybody read them?
Yes.
We okay? Any amendments?
I just want, was I here for every meeting?
I think that's a question for yourself.
I gotta tell you the truth, I always keep it in my phone, and I got a new phone, like, and because I questioned.
Wouldn't it say in the minutes?
It would.
It would, yeah.
It says at the top,
Right at the
members
top, yeah.
present,
That's-
staff present,
yeah.
and any members missing, so.
But you can still approve minutes even though you weren't at the
Yeah,
meeting.
if you've watched
Yes.
the,
Yep.
If you
Yeah.
watched it or,
Yeah.
you read the minutes, that's fine as well, right? So if we have
Can take
enough,
them together?
want to take them together, or any exceptions? You want to take them separately?
I
or-
want to take them separately.
Okay, let's go down. Let's go to approve, motion to. approve
Motion to
20.
approve minutes of June 20th, 2024.
Second?
All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
You take it from now on.
1, 2, 3,
Aye.
He's
Abstain.
abstaining.
so we get 501. Next,
Motion to approve the minutes of July 18th, 2024.
Second.
okay, all those in favor,
Aye.
Abstain.
Abstain, 501, thank you.
Motion to approve the minutes of September 19th, 2024.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, that's a 600, thank you.
Motion to approve the minutes of October 17th, 2024.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, it's another 600. Thank you.
Motion to approve the minutes of November 7th, 2024.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Oh, that's another 600. Thank you very much. That's good cleanup there. All right, other matters, discussion of renaming the Burlington Sculpture Park Committee. And would that be Ms. LaRue?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. The Burlington Sculpture Park Committee would like to change its name to the Burlington Public Arts Committee, reflecting the committee's desire to become involved in public art outside of the confines of the park and involving things other than sculptures.
Good.
I like
So-
that.
Okay.
So what are they going to call it?
The Burlington Public Arts Committee.
Burlington.
And this could be
Public-
even theater for Ms. Natara,
Yeah.
who's real.
Yeah, public, say it again, Burlington Public.
Public Arts
Committee.
Committee.
Wow.
So it could encompass many things, and that's, we're hoping to just sort of broaden.
Sure,
our
of course, you've had
horizons.
success with the sculpture park, and congratulations to that, Ms. LaRue and others.
So I don't know if we need to vote on that,
Let's vote on it anyway.
okay?
Would like to make a motion to rename the known as the Burlington Sculpture Park Committee to Burlington Public Arts Committee.
Second.
Okay, all those,
Aye.
all those in favor? Aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, that's a 600. Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's a great name.
It is.
Good job, too.
Thank you.
Correspondence, none. Reports from town council, we just had it. Subcommittee reports, anything from subcommittees?
Yes, attended the last Burlington High School building meeting, which the date is escaping me when that was, a week or two ago. Last week.
I don't remember the date.
Yeah, everything's blending together. And, they did have at the very end a slide on planning board and their plans for planning board. I did want to call out to the board that they did bring up in relation to us the Dover Amendment or Agreement, whichever version of that it is, and how, with that, there is less typical oversight that we are allowed. I, did kind of unmute myself at that point and ask that, still respectfully, we are, as a board, involved, given that we're estimating just under $400 million of spend. And they are anticipating or hoping to go to the September town meeting to ask for the funding. So the decision on the design, or not to the design, but the version of what they'd like to build, they will be narrowing, I think, March. So as I had stated in the announcements, things are moving rapido. So, if you want to be involved, I highly encourage. I did request that they talk with staff to attend one of our planning board meetings. I would prefer the early February one, because I would love to, being newer to the board, I don't have as deep of knowledge as all of, my lovely members here do with the town and prior school. So I would, even though it's still in the early phase, I would appreciate feedback from board members who have been here much longer than I. And so I'm hoping they will be able to do that to give everybody purview of the narrowed down versions they are looking at.
Great. Okay. Yes, Ms. LaRue.
I just wanted to remind all the members, I have attended the last two online, and I would encourage all of you to start attending because, like Jess said, this is moving fast, and it's a huge project, and it's an enormous cost. And all the meetings are hybrid, so you can go on BCAT and watch them afterwards if you can't attend.
And
And-
you said the last one is at what time on February 14th?
I think.
There's a community meeting on February 12th at 6:30. There is a school board committee meeting on then February 13th. They do have a lovely, so bhsbuildingproject.com, they did update that with a master calendar, which is nice to see. And then they also have the project design and documents there, so you can see, the preliminary design options, which I think will give you kind of a good sense for where they're headed. But I still think, it'll be really worthwhile for them to kind of come and talk to the board specifically.
Great, yep.
And one more thing, I don't know about the rest of the board members, but I personally have received multiple emails and a couple of phone calls from neighbors that are very concerned. And I think we can expect that to come here too. Neighbors at the
Yeah.
high school, specifically along Sunset and the surrounding,
Arlington Road.
it's surrounded by single-family homes on 3 sides.
Well, and the reason for that is because one of the propositions that appears to be a front runner is the athletic fields move up
back
to where
to
the high
back.
school is right now.
Switch it up.
So you would have, and then the high school would be built.
Field,
Yes, they would build the
Crazy.
high school. I mean, it's all still, it's not definitive.
Right.
I
It
know,
seems like a
but
front runner, but that's why obviously people who live right there are concerned about people parking and using their streets, the noise, and obviously there's things they can do to do that,
Lights,
but.
announcements, yeah. scoreboard.
Wow, we
It's a
just
lot.
spent a lot of money on, I know very
Yeah.
little
Yeah.
about following that, but that much I do know, we spent a lot of money on that field.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Any other subcommittee reports? Yes.
I have a subcommittee report and then a question. The Burlington Police Station Building Committee has not met for quite some time. I did ask the chief about it yesterday, and at the Civics Expo, they were showing a somewhat modified version of the building they're proposing, but it was not really completed yet. They said they still had more work to do. I've been told that we should have a meeting within the next 2 or 3 weeks, at which point we will see a more updated version of that building. And I'll be happy to report back, but also any of us are welcome to attend those meetings. Liz will let us know when they're happening, let all of you know, because
Maybe again,
Don't all
that'd
get
be a good
informed.
opportunity for them to come before this board, just to kind of give us an update, just to be
Yes.
transparent, and that'd always be encouraged.
right. And so that's that, and then I also, what was the other thing I wanted to ask?
You had a question, you said?
I had a question, and I can't
I'll
remember.
take my time as we go forward. Any other subcommittee reports? No other subcommittee reports? I think there's one for Fox Hill coming up. I'll attend that one.
I remember.
Yes, go ahead, Mr. Lewis.
The Marshall Simons Field renovation. I had a phone call from a school committee member who was asking questions about what they would need to do before the board, and I'm unclear on it. I wanted to ask staff if we know what's happening and if they are coming before us.
So I haven't seen anything. I don't know what they're proposing.
Okay.
Are they proposing interior, I don't know what they're doing.
What I was told, they're not proposing interior changes, they're proposing a new field, new lighting, a walking path that would go on the far along the outskirts of the field, so that would be near residential homes, and also building, not bleachers, but building seating into the hill.
So there was, the Buzz had an article on it actually a couple of days ago, 3 days ago, and I had paid attention to it because the title was New Field Project on Track, on Time, and on Budget. So it says, along with boosting field capacity for the town and enhancing scheduling options, the project aims to fix drainage issues and improve field conditions while making it more accessible. The new design will feature 2 full-size turf, soccer, or lacrosse fields in the place of the current single grass field. A movable net will split the space, allowing games to happen at the same time without getting in each other's way. Additional netting will protect the nearby wetlands from stray balls. The renovation includes several key upgrades: a ramp for better accessibility and more accessible seating, new lights that won't spill over into nearby areas, a paved walking path around the edge, scoreboards for each field, access paths for emergency vehicles, electrical outlets, and water hookups for maintenance and events. The project team plans to hold a public information session, is looking at ways to get students involved in naming the new field. The project is on track to start the permitting process by midwinter, with construction kicking off in early spring. The goal is to have the new complex ready for use by August or September.
Quick.
So the permitting process, does that mean they're coming to us?
I would have
Oh.
to reach out to them. Nobody,
Okay.
so based
It's
on
the
I just
lights
read-
that I'm concerned about, and making sure that this seating that's being built into the hill is safe for everyone.
Yeah.
It would be, what it sounds like would be a minor engineering change, like they're gonna be doing trenching for electrical and water, and so usually if that's the case, And landscape, think about Northwest Park, we've done,
Yeah.
minor engineering changes when they were re-landscaping and doing all that stuff at Network Drive.
Does the site plan already exist?
That would be a good question. I mean,
I
Well, there'd be
asked that
lighting that'd
question.
have to be involved there, right?
Yeah,
So-
there is lighting involved, and I
Yes.
did ask the question if whether or not they had an updated site plan, and the person I spoke with did not know the answer to
Okay,
that
so
question.
they will
that's-
have to have, if they're doing new fields, they would have to have paid for a survey to be done, which is the first step in getting
Okay.
an accurate site plan for the site.
So maybe, if you don't mind, I think would probably be a good idea to reach out to, would it be Bob Kuna?
Yeah, Bob Kuna,
Probably,
who the
if
project
he's
lead
not
is.
the person, he would at least know who is,
Yeah,
but he probably
or
is the person.
project lead, yeah.
Yeah.
We have a signed plan set from
2012, okay.
With that boring.
Good, very good. Any unfinished business and any new business? New business?
Motion,
No, go ahead.
motion to adjourn the meeting.
Any second?
Second, sorry.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, meeting adjourned, thank you.
Yeah.
2012. Everyone.